There we go. Yeah,
There we
Meta,
go.
I'm gonna go see an integrative medicine doctor. Thank you for the tip on that. How that works.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Great. All right, I guess I'll get started.
Yeah, as soon as Christian gives us the green light, Meta, go ahead.
Yeah, you can go ahead. I think it's good now. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. Here to provide a development update. So our focus, my focus specifically, is on shipping the SDK.01 release. We are targeting that release to drop sometime in early February. And that release contains the ++ virtual machine, the compiler, and a flavor of the Rolang language specification that is implemented in the compiler. And our goal is to get Rolang out in the hands of users, let people author contracts, and tell us what they love about the language and what they may not like about the language, so we can go ahead and take that feedback and put it into, right? So our target is to make Rolang the preferred language of choice for contracts. And we want to get as much feedback as we can from developers so that the language itself is delightful to write functional smart contracts that are correct by construction. That's the end. We've did some work on adding cryptography primitives to the compiler, so we will need a solid cryptographic strategy for RChain. Development team's great work determining what our strategy is going to be and implementing that. We are also going to be adding line numbers to the AST. So Kyle is working on adding that to the compiler, and that'll be a nice feature to help in compiling and debugging contracts as well. We've also added some bound name checking, so that's a nice feature as well for, if you declare a name, you want it to have been declared. So small but very important feature, and this will all go into the SDK. We're also going to have some test contracts that'll demonstrate the cryptography, as well as a Rolang tutorial. I'm also happy to report that we may be able to demo some features of the cost transpiler for you all next week. And the cost transpiler will be the piece of functionality that will verify what your phlogiston balance is in your account, that you have enough phlogiston to actually execute your contract. That's all the cost platform. We've done some work there, and hopefully we'll have a demo for you next week. Joe reports that he made. Very excited about that. We're also working on the developer.rchain website, and this is going to be a site targeting developers that want to work with the SDK, work with Node, learn more about Rolang. So we're bringing together the rolang.org property and folding that into developer.rchain co-op website. It's going to be very targeted, just developers, getting them coding on Rolang, working with GitHub and adding to RChain project. So lots of good work there. That's going to ship probably sometime in January. Want to align it with the SDK release, so we'll have some nice flash around the website, the SDK release. We also are doing some Node testing. So if you have downloaded Node, please catch us on Discord in the Node testing channel. Kind of put your hand in the ring there. And I will be proposing some times when we want to do a structured stress test of the peer-to-peer communication layer. Our goal is to try to get at least 30 to 40 nodes running all at the same time, so we can observe the behavior of all the nodes, get some feedback on how the code is. So do find us on Discord. You can also direct message on Discord. We've had about 40 downloads of Node.hello, and I suspect there are more folks out there that have actually compiled from source. So I think trying to get 30 to 35 nodes running is useful. So please do ping. And then the big question of the hour everybody's been asking for is a roadmap. I have been working on putting something together. I'll be working closely with the developers to get their guesstimates on when certain features will be ready and when certain milestones will be ready. And I will be publishing something once I have them all on board and signed up with those estimates. So that is work that's being. That's my update. I'm opening it up for questions.
With the website, the developer website, will that have some sample contracts and tutorials, that kind of thing, as well as documentation?
The intent, yes, the rolling tutorial will be on the website, and the intention is that we will also have the content that's on rolling.org, which even has the video from Kent walking through, I believe it's the ERC20 token contract implemented in rolling. And the SDK will also have a set of example contracts as part of it. And snippets, right? Here's how you do this in Golang. Here's a functional way to do this. So Mike spent a lot of time coming up with a tutorial that will also have example code.
Great. And when was that stress test? When were you thinking we wanted to try to do that?
Well, I wanted to get all the volunteers kind of signed up, and then I can kind of pitch some times and get, kind of collaborate with them on the best time. So it's kind of calling for volunteers right now. I want to get everybody into that node testing channel, and then I can interact with them and propose some dates and what works best. But I'd like to do it fairly soon, in the next couple of weeks. Any other questions?
Sounds like there's a lot of interest in that roadmap too.
Yes, there's a great deal of interest. Any other questions? Terrific. That's my update, Kenny.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. Just to make sure everybody is aware, Greg is out for this week. He's in Costa Rica. So hand it on over, I think, now to Lawrence and Ed. They've got some updates for us on the holding side. And then we'll hand it over to Ian to go over some other things, other topics.
Awesome. Hi. Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Meta. Yeah, so I'll start out. We've got a number of great news items to share. I'll start out with announcing Lawrence as the new CEO of RChain Holdings. So yeah, just some background for Lawrence. I've known Lawrence for about 3 years or more, where we were advising another blockchain together. And I've leveraged his advice over the years, and then recruited him into RChain Holdings, where his value became really immediately apparent, and his capability to accelerate our overall mission. And he's got a great background and a great capability for networking, business development, or lending investment. And so I fully support this transition. I'll stay 100% engaged in holdings. And letting you. Yeah, exactly. And we have quite an exciting future ahead. And so with that, Lawrence, if you could give maybe just for a few of the new community members that may not know much about your background, to tell a little bit about your background, the vision for holdings, and some other exciting announcements.
Sure. Thank you. So I'll talk real briefly about me. I want to talk more about holdings. I've got a really short deck because I want you to see the illustration of where we've been and where we're going. I started as a second-generation internet developer. I've been writing code, building high-value, high-volume systems. Helped launch Motorola's smartphone, the coupons that you get in grocery stores, Discover Card, Dun & Bradstreet. My last dev team was 2,600 people. So I've run large consulting organizations, companies like Cognizant, PricewaterhouseCoopers. I've been a public board director, so I understand financial aspects. What does it mean to really scale platforms and launch them? Done 15 startups, funded 6 of them for a venture fund that I had when I was at WC. Part of the reason I came to Seattle was to work at as a venture partner for a company here called Benny Hill, and have been doing crypto since the late 90s, so first generation. Really exciting stuff. Super stoked having to have met a lot of people at the developer conference and all the interaction. The market just responds incredibly well to it. So I'm going to share my screen because I'd rather talk about the company than. Everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So we've talked about these things for holdings a number of times, but let me show it to you and tell you exactly what we're going to build out a series of funds that take investments in companies at 2 stages of the life cycle. Concept stage, where someone's got a great idea for a blockchain company. Maybe they've got some of the devs, maybe they've got some, they need funding and they need an injection of talent. I think we've met most of the people on the side. That's going to grow. For those of you who are in the dev hangout, there we're talking to a lot of really interesting folks. CTO from Avalera came and poked his head in. There may be a longer term there. We're leveraging the ecosystem. So that's concept stage companies, and then mature companies at 2 stages or 2 stretches. One, blockchain companies that are bumping their heads on other chains. They're not able to scale. And I've talked to maybe half a dozen, and we'll go into some more detail of companies that are ready to pivot to RChain once they can get their hands on it, or legacy companies that have got an established business that are looking to implement blockchain. So these are all bankable and things that we can move on. And the other thing we're going to do is focus on education. So all the work that comes out of the SDK will help publish other content, sponsor content. We want to sponsor companies that are educating and building developers, because right now our total world population is about 19 really good RChain developers, and then from what Meta was saying, maybe another 40 have downloaded it. So that's got to be a big part of our roadmap. The company structure will be, Holdings as an operating company with different funds, and those funds will distribute cash, a mixture of cash and rocks. Our first fund, the fund 0, is really what we're calling picks and shovels, the basic things: Oracle, identity solution, exchanges, wallets, things that you need to build a scalable infrastructure. The first fund, we're thinking about, identity and testing tools. There aren't any good tools. Quick plug, I will be in San Francisco the week of the 22nd. So I'm going to be talking to a testing company that's a SaaS model there that I know. I'm looking for intros. Patrick and I will also do some marketing around that. I know I'm going super fast because I want to be respectful of their other updates. We've achieved enough operating capital through sale of rocks that we've, that we had as part of our treasury to not only start taking investments, but really to fund and run the company for the next 24 months. Lisa and I are going to work through the exact numbers. We've got our first set of deals on the table, and we should close our first deal with an identity company that's in flight. And we're almost ready to execute on that. Once we do, we will share it. And the logo will go up on the Holdings website. So we're super excited about that. And there's still a lot of planning to do with the team, how we're going to structure the funds and all of the criteria, and we'll share most of that. We're looking at new hires because we're going to need talent. We're going to be smart about how we do that. So I've lined these out. I'm not going to read everything for all of the quarters. You can look at this and probably send that out. Sorry. Yeah, and really quickly, we've already gotten many, many introductions from investors. As late as this morning, we spoke to an investment bank in Hong Kong that has another identity company they'd like us to take an investment in, meeting with Swarm tomorrow with the rest of the team. So Greg, Meredith, and I have been talking about what are the other high priorities, storage being one of them, music being one of them. We're down the road with many of these discussions already. I'm just kind of looking through some of my notes. And the other thing is, maybe many of you seen it or linked in with me for an economist to work with us to talk about what does it mean to do crypto economics, the price of gas or phlogiston for us, and how are all those things going to work. There's a lot of exciting times and a lot going on. Let me pause there and answer a couple of quick questions. I want to be respectful that other people have, updates to bring.
Lawrence, for wallets for infrastructure, would you anticipate multi-sig being a standard feature, or would that be something a little bit different?
So it needs to be in there. Can we support it? Or are there going to be existing companies that support it? Got to be there. The world is crazier than we know. We're getting calls all over. There are security issues. I can't imagine not.
Yeah, this is Ed. On the LivelyGig has been building an Ethereum wallet in preparation for RChain, and we just contracted with a developer particularly on the multi-sig.
On that too, contacting hardware wallet folks for, I assume that would be just essentially crypto integrations, but that would be also fantastic.
Yeah, I met the Ledger guys in San Francisco last month, so that's a follow-up conversation.
Yeah, the way I think all of the kind of essential plumbing of the around Bitcoin and around Ethereum and others, we need to in some cases build ourselves, but in probably more cases partner with those companies that are already established that are willing to commit to a path that would include RChain, and strike a deal with them. So yeah, there's in the case of hardware wallets, just additional firmware for that signing.
You made a point that I want to stress.
Yeah.
Everything that we're doing within the holdings group is about meaningful relationships. We can have hundreds of partnerships, invest in lots of companies. We're going to define what those meaningful things are because we want it to bring back to the community. We've got to be empowering the community and the communities that those portfolio companies serve as part of the larger co-op community. We're not according to our goal and our purpose as a larger group.
What about block explorers?
It's one of those things. We're actually going through an exercise that Roland Waters is doing to identify, what do we need to do? We can't do everything in the first 90 days, but in that fund zero, and we're going to create a series of funds, very specifically, what are we targeting and what are the parameters? I think block explorers, again, is we've got to see what the market is because we also want to demonstrate for the RChain community especially. I always call them boring use cases, things that people use a lot of and scale up are most interest because it demonstrates people love RChain and why they're using it because it's practical. They're able to.
Great question, Kenny.
Thank you. Any other questions? Y'all know, hit me up on Discord, send me a LinkedIn. You all know how to get a hold of me. If you don't, there are enough people here who do. So I'm really looking forward to working with everyone. Again, San Francisco, the week of the 22nd. We'll try and do a meetup if we can get together enough people.
I have one more question. Greg was talking about the Likke organization. It's a Swiss organization. and they have a wallet and exchange in one application. Are you going to work with them?
So I won't speak for Greg. I know he's going to have that conversation, and afterwards, I'll circle back. It's an interesting idea. It is. And we need to see how much of the ocean we can boil at once and get investors that are outside of the community excited. I'm getting those conversations from traditional institutional money, crypto millionaires, and others who are hearing about RChain as we all go out and speak. The community, in fact, Nash and I are doing an interview with Blockchain Brad on Monday noon Pacific time. I'll join in. I'm not sure, but if not, we'll get it out to the community.
Yeah, and HJ, I think the other thing too, we need to for RChain to succeed, you know, it obviously needs wallets, it needs exchanges, and it needs integrated applications. So part of what's ahead is, yeah, who can partner with us and we partner with most effective, and that's both chemistry thing, but it's also a business consideration, right? So, yeah, I know that we have connections into Lika, and look forward to those conversations.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Let me yield back the floor unless there's any other.
Hey, Lawrence, this is Ian. Were you going to address the Rev logo and the polling that's going on?
We're finalizing the last bits of what that's going to look like. And I believe by consensus, the community said we need a new logo. And there is a channel. There'll be a final set of voting on what that's going to look like, which I think you've set up. And we're going to go with that for the logo, though the consensus was we stay with that brand design.
Okay, and if you like, I can go to the little polling station right now and just show people what that looks like.
Yeah, can you do that, Ian?
Okay, so I'm just going to hopefully share my screen. Okay, and can everyone see the polling station?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a Discord instance which is open to everyone, members and non-members alike. However, members who have paid the membership fee and gone through the webcam verification have privileged access on the Discord instance. This channel, the polling station, is just a place where we can poll our members who are on Discord and get a little bit more signal as to what their interests and concerns are. The description of this channel for polling station, for voting on proposals, we're moderating this channel heavily, so you can't just post anything here. You really have to get a little bit of support for your proposal before it goes into this channel. And again, I write here that this is not representative of the full membership because most of our members are not on Discord. We have over. And the polling process with emoji voting is quite easy. We have a couple logo designs. If you like this one, you can just click here to increment your vote, or click down to downgrade your vote. Well, in this case, I'm not sure why we have up and down votes unless we want, I guess people could do double up votes, double down votes. But if you want to see what the breakdown of the vote is, you can click on the reactions here. And here we can see that there are 9 up votes, 9 down votes, and you can even see whether or not each voter is a member of the cooperative. And to do that, you can see every member has a colon suffix on their server name. So Viva La Crypto is a member, they have a colon. Harry is not. This way we can count and see a little bit the signal coming from our members as well as our non-members. I'm gonna yield back now if anyone has any questions.
A question on it's slightly off topic, Ian. Sorry, but for people coming into the cooperative, are we still? You're still doing verifications fairly manually, right?
Yeah, there is a manual element to the just a very short webcam verification that takes a couple seconds just to match photo ID, which was uploaded, with the person's face. It just takes a couple seconds, and we have multiple members who are in the role of being able to do that kind of verification. So we can scale it a little bit, but if we start getting thousands of members per day joining, then there are outside third-party services that can do the same kind of thing.
Ian, Jonathan?
Yeah.
So what happens to identity that have uploaded? Are they guarded after verification? Just a security question.
So the way that's handled right now is all of the IDs are being saved into a protected database, which we have, I believe only Greg Meredith and Navneet have full access to that. And then the people who do the verification can only access those IDs if they're able to put in the email address of the person who they're verifying. We do have some controls there.
Just want to add access verification. We have security in place for securing the data as well as private info. And we have audited those security measures.
All right, I have a few updates here to share with everybody. So wanted to just also reiterate that the governance forum, reiterate those dates and all the information we have currently scheduled for the 15th of February through the 18th of February here in Seattle. And we're finalizing a location, most likely going to be at the hall at Fauntleroy. There'll be some other information coming out about that soon. We had a meeting last week or early this week about possible or about agenda items, and we have a coordinator from, I think her name is Veronica at Pyrofix. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nash. And B More is her handle on Discord if there are any questions about logistics. And then I do have some numbers, some final numbers for the end of the year, for the rock sale that happened. So at the final tally, we had in U.S. dollars at the time of receipt of $18,723,257 were raised. Currently, those tokens, we took a combination of Ether, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, and U.S. dollars via wire transfers. And right now, those holdings are at a total at the current market price around 28 million. So it definitely has appreciated quite a bit. But we did receive a nice chunk of US dollars, 1.4 million. So that's going to be a really nice for us to be able to have, especially since now that 2017 is over, we'll be digging into the tax questions. So we'll need US dollars to pay those. And hopefully that tax bill won't be exorbitant, but hard to say at this point.
This is Lisa.
Yeah, I was going to ask if Lisa had any updates on that.
Yeah, I just was going to say, we've gotten a letter from, pretty confident that we will be allowed to defer any token sale revenue for a year. But more importantly, they also feel that there is a really chance that we can file for 501(c)(12) status, which is like being like a utility where the excess profits generated co-op are given back to the members and thus would not be subject to tax. So that's our ultimate game plan. Got to get the filing. There's no cost to the filing. I've even been told that surprisingly, the group at the IRS that works on those kind of filings are somewhat helpful. So that's nice to hear. And that's what we really hope will be end result, so that at no point will the contributions or cash and Bitcoin.
And Lisa, what do you think that means by excess profit in our particular case?
So for the 501c12, any activity that is related to the co-op, so revenue, membership due, less any expenses, developer, directors, employees, all of that would net to some operating profit or sort of pre-tax income, and then the co-op would distribute that to the members. Well, they could distribute it to them also for obviously investing in the platform, and then the balance of it is not subject to. And so that's the key to getting the 501c12. Now there may be activity co-op does that are subject, but they would be small in income. I think main point to take away is they're bullish that there is opportunity to file as an organization, not be subject to base of the code.
And there is some discussion here about personal taxes and such. So first and foremost, it very much depends on where you live in your own jurisdiction. So I would encourage everybody to consult the best information you have, either from your own tax authorities in the country that you happen to live in, but from those that are living in the United States that have received ROC as payment for any work completed. That would be claimed as income, and you would have to do that on your own personal taxes. Please do make sure to do that. And
well,
then,
and also, can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
Just on the receiving compensation co-op. So the co-op is obligated then to each contractor a Form 1099, and we'll be getting that to you. Our obligation is to get it to you by January 1. And you'll get that. It'll tell you what we have said we have compensation. Then we've got about 2 weeks or so, and then the co-op is obligated to send that form to the trust. So there's no avoiding taxes on that compensation because the IRS is.
correct. And then those ROC will be, we in that 1099, they will be what they were valued at the time they were just, that's right, correct?
It'll show as total U.S. dollars. So
Yeah.
let's say you received $1,000 from the co-op in ROC over several transactions. It'll just show as $1,000. So the time between when you receive it and when the co-op is required to file it with the IRS is an opportunity to co-op and say you have a question, you're not sure about it. I don't think that should be a big issue because of the way we have been managing this, and everybody seems to have been very clear the side of an invoice as well as the ROC value that they were receiving. I'm hopeful that when you get these, not have any questions.
Great. Yeah, and just to reiterate, we're not giving any tax advice here. We're just explaining what the cooperative will be doing for those who have received ROC as compensation.
for the a little bit unclear. Trading is
Right, and that's usually capital gain.
I've also a question.
Yeah.
I heard you talking about Bitcoin Cash, and I know there were some old Bitcoins, so to say. And have you covered also the Bitcoin Cash and gold?
Not that I'm aware. I mean, they would. I should say that they are. I think it depends, right? So when were those forks? Because the first private sale was in September. I think maybe Bitcoin Gold was sometime around there. I can't remember exactly when Bitcoin Cash. So it sort of depends on when those forks were. At any rate, if there is any Bitcoin Cash or Gold, we'll want to get that taken care of. But I haven't heard any discussions about that. As well as there's nothing been done with any of the random tokens that people received from any given address. So any address the co-op controls, there might be some airdrop tokens that we are unaware of. But yeah, we'll probably want to take a look at that.
Yeah, we're aware of them in terms of, they're sitting there in the wallet, but because most of them are so small amount with still hardly any basis, it has not at this point been something to say, well, let's get this recorded, let's get a strategy around it. Bitcoin Cash is different, and I sort of have lost track because it's been a couple of months since that came out. I know in one instance we got Bitcoin Cash and we sold it out for Bitcoin, but I would have to double check about some of the other wallets. If we got the cash and just at top of mind, I don't.
Good question, though. Thanks, HA. Right, that's all the updates I had. Is there any other topics anyone else would like to discuss before we adjourn?
I have a question about accommodations. Suggestion.
I spoke with our coordinator on that. Suggested a few places that work. Currently, there's not a lot of hotels or anything like that near the venue specifically, but there are some places in West Seattle here that are about a few miles away, either south or north. But then there would also be like Airbnb options. There's quite a few of those around. So probably what will happen here, as soon as we get a little bit more details, we'll put out a list of suggested options and transportation options as well. There's a few bus lines as well as just rideshare, Uber, taxis, that sort of thing for getting around, or if people wanted to do carpools or anything else like that. So there'll be more information about that to come. There's not a whole lot around here, but of course people would be willing if they wanted to stay downtown. It's a little bit further to get into to West Seattle, but we'll have all of that coming.
Yeah, with respect to that, in the issues in GitHub, there was an idea to reimburse all the travel and lodging costs by ROC. Can we make a statement of that? So people would get reimbursed for all travel.
Well, I'm sure why we would do it in ROC, because we'd have to then do it off an rate. I don't think we would do it at the current policy rate. That would be somebody sort of in an advantage not intended as part of just simply reversing expenses.
Yeah, but then you could take the rate of the day that you pay a certain extent for market.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It would be just from a strictly accounting standpoint. We've now got enough cash that any expense could either be reimbursed in U.S. dollar or ETH. That's been the policy, and I wouldn't want to do.
But isn't it so that rock more interesting to do it?
Well, not to me.
I can understand.
So, but in addition to the form of payment, you're asking that I think needs to have some clarity is what is the reimbursement policy? Apt is up in a all, so I'm going to clarify this.
There has been some discussion about this. Lisa and I have talked about it. I think even Patrick and have weighed in a little bit. So I think the easiest part of that question is the anyone that is directly employed by the co-op that what those expenses would be taken care of. That seems fairly obvious. The next question is for those who are either highly involved or integral parts of the community, should they also have their expenses reimbursed, or should it be on a case-by-case basis with either some recommendations from directors or board members? So I think it's still a bit of an open question that I think the leadership probably should make a statement on, either that there would be a process involved for having these things done, either a grant proposal process for approving specific individuals or not. I think for individuals who do want to participate, if they can afford to pay their own fares, that would be preferable. But yeah, I think reimbursement for some other folks that aren't necessarily directly employed could be reasonable. We just need to add a little bit more clarity on that. And probably get some more clarity on that after Greg gets back. Have a little bit more discussion with the leadership of the co-op. Does that make sense, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, if someone could take point to make a proposal to Greg or however, because the sooner this gets resolved will really affect the numbers of people that actually will come, or the cost of last minute flights versus advanced flights.
It's not only flight, right?
Yeah, it would be flight. It potentially could be flights, lodging, and like food. So or per diem. So the three typical expenses that are reimbursed for travel.
Okay.
Now, I think there's something on the order of those who covered, and perhaps other people would be paid by.
Yeah, we could come up with a process. We might even just want to discuss a process on Discord and then sort of see if we can get some alignment on what that might look like, especially about how much that might cost.
I think that's a really good idea, Kenny, to get some opinions out there. I think it would be nice that for folks that are participating, that there is some sort of give back. So, Jim, you mentioned, being active. That's certainly there may be people that have recently gotten, involved in the co-op, but going forward, see that they are, that they're going to make a commitment to be active in some manner, specific manner, that would then qualify them for.
Great. All right. Is there anything else we want to discuss? Okay. Thank you, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.